Hey guys, Ghazzy TV here with the Last Epoch special. I've been playing Last Epoch since they were in Kickstarter Alpha over 5 years ago, and we're finally seeing the fruits of their label with a full game launch this Wednesday, 21st of February. I'm super excited as we finally get to see this game in its full glory going out of beta. Words can't express how excited I am for this. Now, in collaboration with both 11th Hour Games as well as Icyveins, I have been given the opportunity to take a little sneak peek behind the curtains to see what's there in store for us for 1.0 with the new faction system, Falconeer class, and the Warlock class.
It all leads back to me.
I'd like to start this video off by showing one of my favorite skills in the game, Harvest. This build concept is a Lich class using the new Warlock ability Chaos Bolt to automatically trigger Bone Curse, Rip Blood, as well as the melee skill Harvest. Essentially, this makes the build a ranged melee attacking caster. It's very heavy on the gear requirements, as dexterity is needed to trigger the Harvest, making it an endgame build. It's also a Lich by its core, providing Reaper form as an extremely comfortable layer of defense and the obvious increase of swag. Despite being severely undergeared in this footage, I've been able to comfortably handle empowered monoliths, endgame content, whilst looking cool doing so. Core design of the build is to utilize a one-handed scythe, scaling melee damage modifiers whilst playing a caster build, scaling cast speed in a new way to take on your journey in Last Epoch. Unique items used in this build is obviously Twisted Heart of Ukaros to ramp up the defensive scaling, which has been slightly nerfed in 1.0. Despite that, it is our best option for the build. We are also using the Mortality's Grasp gloves to automate cursing enemies, which allows us to comfortably sustain the mana spent casting Chaos Bolts, which is what we want a ton of cast speed for. There are a handful of other options of unique items that you can find all the details for in the written guide linked in the descriptions below this video, covering every aspect that you need to play this build. I do want to underline that this build is one of the coolest build concepts emerged from the 1.0 patch, and it does bring a rather heavy gear requirement to get it to work. I'm not alone on peeking behind the curtains though. My good friend EMP1241, who's another guide writer from Icyveins, has been hard at work providing top tier builds for you to check out. Now, to best show you the really cool Falconer build he made, I think it's best if you take it from here, brother.
Thanks, brother. Shout out to Ghazzy, and what's up, team? I gotta say, this concept got me hyped right from the start. The Falconer brings some serious advantages with puncture and spears. Our trusty bird companion not only has our back when we're in a pinch, but it also serves as our main movement skill with a very quick cooldown. When it comes to movement, our Falcon unleashes a wing burst on the landing zone. This move really packs a punch, softening up those high health enemies and wiping out smaller packs like it's nobody's business. And as if that wasn't cool enough, our Falcon drops caltrops along the way, which get a boost from other nodes in our skill trees for caltrops. Plus, our Falcon knows how to throw some razor sharp feather knives, which we can amp up with the right gear. Trust me, we'll be doing a lot of that. And let's not forget about our nets. These babies immobilize enemies and slow down bosses or rares in a wide area. When triggered, the net unleashes our scaled puncture attack. In this case, it's boosted by shadow daggers. It's a killer combo, especially with the insane range we get from our passive tree while using a spear. Oh, and did I mention that nets also trigger our smoke bomb? Not only does it give us some extra defense, but it also amps up our damage output for all of our skills. Talk about a win-win. One of the things I love most about this class is how fast it clears. With a movement skill that covers the entire screen with a cooldown of just over 2 seconds, you can zip in and out of an echo in no time. Hey Ghazzy, you getting tired of seeing me in the rearview mirror yet? You got something that you can keep up with me?
Whoa. Now, I got something real juicy for you, alright? Now, let me show you my starter build, which is a Crit Chaos Warlock, bringing you a colorful splash of projectiles all over the screen, decimating enemies whilst maintaining effective clear speed and a high defenses for the high-end game content. Now, skill-wise, this build is very similar to that of the Harvest Lich version, with the difference that this is an actual Warlock, using the Chaos Bolt, but yet again triggering both Rip Blood and Bone Curses. Now the only difference here is that we skip the Harvest ability and focus entirely on actually dealing damage with our Chaotic Bolts. This focus is something we double down on with our Chthonic Fissure ability that we get from choosing the actual Warlock Mastery. This ability literally tears a crack in the ground to spew out chaotic energies, which we will utilize to trigger even more Chaos Bolts. The way we sustain high clear speed with a build like this is thanks to a node in the Warlock passive tree called Fleeting Crone, giving us haste, which provides a 30% movement speed buff that we also are increasing the effect of by 50%, making us consistently have 45% increased movement speed as we're clearing monoliths. This is also combined with a traversal skill called Transplant, which not only gives us a layer of defense, but also our beloved haste, as well as a frenzy buff that increases our cast speed for more damage output. When it comes to the equipment this build wants to use, it is also very similar to the Lich Harvest build, with a change from melee damage scaling modifiers that are now swapped for spell-oriented ones, meaning our one-handed scythe is now going to be a wand. It is also important to point out that the gear requirements to start playing this version is much lower and easier to achieve, that you can literally use this build to level with. This is thanks to the tremendous damage output of Chthonic Fissure, provided as long as you're able to sustain the mana cost, which we can easily do throughout the campaign by not taking the double Fissure node, as that will ramp the mana cost up to be too high before gear will carry it. Whilst the Lich has a nice layer of defense using the Reaper form, the Warlock passive tree provides a node called Accursed Seer, which is not only a significant cast speed modifier for us, but also acts as an insanely effective defensive layer should enemies manage to bring you down to low life. And with a mere 5-second cooldown of this trigger, I've been able to clear higher corruption monoliths despite having an undergeared and underleveled character. And this is by far my favorite build of all the new things that we've seen emerging with the patch 1.0. I even decided to bring this well-rounded beast of a build to limit testing it against a tier 4 Julra fight, which comes from the Temporal Sanctum endgame dungeon. Now, this fight is a great way to quality test a build's bossing capabilities. Now, despite my initial concerns of not being fully ready for her, the build made such quick work of her that it felt like cheating. The damage is absurd, especially considering the lack of gear and levels. Now, surely this is enough to satisfy your needs, EMP, right?
Alright, that's not bad. In fact, it's pretty impressive. But seriously, who wants to go through a boss fight that lasts almost 2 minutes? Dealing with all those different phases and dodging mechanics? It's not fun. Let me show you how a Falconer with the right gear handles empowered Lagon fight in just one phase. How about taking down a T4 Julra in just 20 seconds in no phases at all? The Falcon's most devastating attack is Dive Bomb, which obliterates large areas with insane amounts of damage. Very few enemies can survive this tactical nuke of a skill, and those who do will be stunned. In between cooldowns of Dive Bomb, we utilize Falconry as our next major attack. This skill instantly kills any enemy with 16% health or less and will be commonly seen wiping up mobs efficiently. To enhance our mobility, we use the Shift, which triggers our defensive shurikens and boosts our movement speeds. These shurikens not only provide us with movement, but also help reduce the cooldowns of the Falcon skill when they critically strike an enemy. And lastly, we have the Smoke Bomb, a handy tool to use when things get a little too dicey. It's a generic solution to get out of trouble and regroup. Needless to say, this is the build I will be starting with. However, builds and new classes aside, 1.0 is bringing you what's called a faction system, in which you can choose to align yourself with either the Merchant Guild or the Circle of Fortune. Whichever choice you make will dictate a massive change in how you play the game. The Merchant Guild provides the opportunity to trade in an auction house-like system called the Bazaar, allowing you to buy or sell items you find in your journey, whilst the Circle of Fortune prevents this feature whilst providing significant boosts in your item finding capabilities. There's a lot to go through with these systems. Let's start with the favor system that both factions are using. Items dropped whilst aligned with the Circle of Fortune faction will be tagged with Circle of Fortune. Similar tag system exists for the Merchants Guild. What this tag system does is prevent a character from equipping any gear associated with the opposite faction. If you were to trade and or gift an item to a friend, that player would need to have the appropriate rank of that faction to be able to equip said item. It's also important to point out that you are free to switch factions at any time, and the reputation rank is account bound for the entirety of the cycle lifetime. This means that if you make a second character, that character will have the same rank as your first one for the corresponding factions. You are also able to change factions with any character at any given time. If you choose to do this, you will keep your reputational rank, but lose all accumulated favor when you switch. The only way to gain favor is to slay monsters and complete quests in the campaign. The way you increase your reputational rank is different depending on which faction you choose to align with. So let's dive into the details of this, starting with the Merchants Guild. These greedy goblins will require you to spend favor to gain experience with the guild. You also gain a very small amount by killing monsters as well. To gain experience, you simply have to either trade with another player or interact with the trade bazaar, which is somewhat similar to an auction house in-game marketplace. The higher rank you gain, the more types of items you are able to buy. With that, you are allowed to sell any item regardless of rank. Do keep in mind though, an item that has been traded once can never be traded again, so it's a one-way ticket. The basics of the Merchants Guild is very straightforward. The bazaar is no different. In here, you'll find a variety of NPC vendors which will house the in-game interface to trade for the different item types. For example, the NPC Cur is your go-to choice to trade gloves. By talking to him, you'll enter the interface you will utilize to either search for a pair of gloves or to put a pair on the market for other players to buy. There isn't much more to add to the functionality of the Merchants Guild benefits other than that you are able to trade items with other players. And that's about it. If trading isn't your thing, you'll always have the option for Circle of Fortune, which is a significantly different approach to playing the game as it does not allow you to trade your items between other players. Isn't that right, Ghazzy?
Well, that's not entirely true. There is a gift item system in the game which allows you to straight up gift an item you drop to another player that is in the party and in the area where the item dropped. Now this, however, still follows the rule of the previously mentioned tag system. So if an item is dropped with a Merchant Guild tag, you can realistically gift it to your party member, but if that player doesn't have the same faction and or rank to equip it, now that's a different story. Let's move on to the Circle of Fortune faction though, as it works very differently, as you said. These guys will boost your drop chances for not just quantity of items and crafting material. With higher rank comes even more significant benefits that help you find bigger and better items throughout your journey in Last Epoch. Since we are not able to trade our items with other players, we'll need other ways to increase our level with a faction. This is done by, again, spending favor with the Circle of Fortune. Now the favor will be spent by either buying random gamble items from the NPC vendor Galila, or by buying what's called lenses. Now this might sound confusing at first, so let's unravel the mysteries. There are two types of lenses that you can purchase from Galila. They're either greater lenses or regional lenses, which both are used in the prophecy room, which is under management by the NPC Sandrak. The prophecy system can seem a bit daunting at first, but becomes very intuitive as it's very easy to learn. There are 4 different telescopes in the prophecy room, each representing a different type of item base, and a quick example of this would be the red-colored constellation, which is the EOS Prophecy. In here, you'll find the item base type weapons. In the bottom left corner, you'll find 3 slots in which you'd place the lenses that you purchase from Galila. The regional lenses are, well, just that. They are regional and can only be placed in the appropriate regions. However, the greater lenses comes with the generic buffs and or changes to the outcomes of options that can be placed in any region as long as you have an open lens slot. The 3 lens slots will open up based on your rank with the Circle of Fortune, so the higher rank you get, the more lenses you are able to slot in whilst hunting down your desired prophecies. Now that you know how the lens system interacts with the different constellations, let's dive into the actual prophecies. By looking through the telescopes, you'll see a constellation, in which you'll find a variety of different prophecies. By hovering over each, you'll see the required content you need to run to fulfill each prophecy, as well as if there are any conditions associated with a prophecy, such as X amount of corruption in a monolith prophecy, or a specific dungeon that you need to run to fulfill it. Besides this, you can also see how much favor it would cost to take the prophecy you want, which will entirely re-roll the constellation and its available choices. This can be done manually as well, should you not like any of the available options by spending a small amount of favor. You are able to have a variety of prophecies active from all constellations, with a cap of 48 prophecies in total. As you can see, it's a very neat system, allowing you to target farm specific items ranging from exalted rares to even unique items. You see, it wasn't that hard, EMP, right?
You didn't mention the resonance system, though.
Right. Maybe you should have mentioned this whilst talking about trading. So I'll let you have this one.
The resonance system isn't exactly trading. The resonance system is a way to prevent friends from missing out on possible loot that others may have found for them. This rewards group play by enhancing your chances of finding good loot, whether it be you or a friend dropping it when they play. When you slay monsters in a group, there's a slim chance you'll find a golden or obsidian resonance orb. These orbs will have a corresponding player's name on them, allowing you to gift 1 item per resonance to that specific player, even if they weren't there when the item dropped. However, there are 2 types of resonance to be dropped. First, there's the more common golden resonance, which can be used to gift normal, magic, rare, set items, idols, and unique items with 0 legendary potential. The obsidian resonance can be used to gift exalted items, unique items with legendary potential, and legendary items. Now, with resonances covered, this clarifies the entirety of the faction system coming to 1.0 February 21st.
Now, with all that juicy sneak peeking out of the way, I want to give a big shout out to both 11th Hour Games and Icyveins for providing this opportunity to take a little sneak peek and check out the 1.0 patch notes and everything that it has in store for us coming with the launch. Both myself, EMP, and the rest of our team from Icyveins, we have tons of guides ranging from both builds to mechanical guides and much, much more ready in store for you, and they're all linked in the descriptions down below this video. If you are as hyped as I am for this launch, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe for more content, and make sure you leave a comment down below with which faction you are playing on the launch. Merchant Guild or Circle of Fortune. Only one of them can literally be the best. I know which one it is, but do you? That's the question. Let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't tried out Last Epoch yet, and this video persuaded you, make sure you check out my Nexus store, also linked in the descriptions below, in which you can buy the game for the same amount of money it costs on Steam. You'll chip a little bit of coin my way. So make sure you toss a coin to your Twitcher. I'll catch you guys live on stream. Till then, as always, stay safe, keep rocking.